All right, today I'm gonna do a couple different types of ribs. I got my spare ribs here. I already trimmed these down because I didn't have a cameraman at the time, but now he's here to help me. So essentially what I did is you get the big bag of spare ribs and all this other meat is attached. And the easiest thing to do, this would have been attached like this here. Nope, right there. And what I did is I found kind of the longest bone and I just cut along that bone. So it's easy enough. You don't want to throw this away. It does have some cartilage in it, but you throw that on and cook it and it comes out great. It's great rib meat. The other thing is I removed the silver skin from under here. So you just get a butter knife and then peel that off. That allows the smoke more flavor to get to the ribs themselves. From here, we're gonna go ahead and season these guys. And then also I'm doing some beef ribs over here. So with the beef ribs, I wanted to do a variety of the two different types of meat. Beef ribs are going to really shrink up and ball up into like a good ball of goodness, but you can see the marbling through there. And beef ribs are really one of my favorite cuts of meat that there is. So now I'm gonna season the ribs. I like to do a little bit of, I guess this is one of my secrets. I don't know if I'm giving the secrets away, but cinnamon I think does great on ribs. And so I usually try to keep one hand clean, and then I'm gonna put a little dose of Right Rub. Right Rub. Living the right life here. There we go there. Same type of thing over here. I'm actually gonna season up the other guys here too, because I'm gonna throw that on as just utility meat there. Same thing. Whoop. Little liberal there at the beginning there. And so after I get the rub and seasoning on there, you don't have to go super heavy with the seasoning since this is just pork and it's not a very, I'd go thicker on like a brisket or something, but let's go ahead and get a little bit of mustard on there. It's kind of an emulsifier. It actually helps with certain food reactions too, so that's good. And then we've got this side here. Same thing. And so you just season these up, get this ready to go here, and these are going to be some good ribs. I'll finish seasoning those in a minute, but I do want to also do the same type of thing with the beef. So I'm doing the same thing with the beef ribs here. I'm just gonna put a light coating of dry rub. You don't need too much of this. I've learned the hard way with beef ribs because I think that the fat gives them a saltier flavor as it is, and then I'll do a little bit of thicker black pepper. You got my little big green egg. Thanks Terry and Sharon for my birthday present, but I'm gonna get a little pepper there and then maybe a little bit of salt here too, and the same thing. We're gonna hit these with the mustard to give them a little emulsifier, chemical reaction type situation. So right there. And then usually what I do is some of the spillage on the plate. You'll see that there's a little bit where that spilled over. I'll just kind of get the sides gooped up a little bit. But these guys don't really need a whole lot because they have such good fat content that they're gonna be good either way. But yeah, getting some level of rub and seasoning on there is absolutely gonna help. There's that, and then maybe a little bit more. I'll throw a little of the Right Rub on here too, kind of a combination. All right, cut. All right, I'm gonna bring you along as I light my big green egg smoker. So the first thing that I did is I filled up the basin with some lump coal, where you can get it any usually hardware store, places like that. And then I did a couple different types of wood up here. And so what I did is I stacked that guy, which plugs into the wall. It's just a contact red hot igniter, I guess. It works off electricity, plugs into the wall, and gets these coals going. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these coals get going till the wood here is actually in flames, so that it doesn't give too yellow of a smoke. The goal should be a nice thin blue smoke by the time we put the meat on. And one other thing I'm gonna wanna do is come to the front here and slide this open so I could get some airflow through there. But I'm gonna keep this going till I've got some fire, and then I will show you what I need to do as far as putting in the plate setter, which makes it an indirect cook. And my goal is gonna be about 225. The woods that I use today, I'm doing beef ribs and spare ribs, so I wanted to use a wood that is friendly to both of those types of meat. And so usually the bags that you could get are gonna have the different types that they're good for. And so this is hickory, so it's gonna be beef and pork right there. And then I'm also using cherry, which works well on that too. So I'll come back when I start putting the rest of the pieces together. So this is where I'm at after about 10 minutes, and that's what I was looking for, is to actually get these chunks started on fire. I'll probably take this guy out of here now and just mix these pieces of wood down in. Once again, the goal here is to get these fully burning, kind of like this guy right there, so that it's going to take away a lot of the bitterness of the smoke. So it'll give a nice cool smoke, but not like a heavy yellow smoke that will be more likely to taint the meat. So I got my ribs and excess meat on the smoker now. You can see the smoke coming around from under the plate setter. Here's my spare ribs. Here's a couple of the extra pieces. They don't look all that great. And then the beef ribs. And so with the spare ribs, I'm just gonna leave those on uncovered the whole time. With the pork ribs, which are the spare ribs, we're gonna do a 3-3-1 or a 3-2-2 type method. And so what that means is I'm gonna pull them and wrap them a portion of the way through the cook. I may pull some of the other scraps earlier than that and just use those for utility meat, but this is what we're working with, and we'll check in here in a little bit. I'm gonna keep this at about 225. Let me actually show you how we do that. So I close the lid here. It's not up to that temp yet, but that'll help me keeping the lid open like that. I usually find this is the air vent on the top, and I'll keep it about 1/4 of an inch open. Will help me get to 225. And then down here, this is the slide that lets air in the bottom, and that guy open about 1/2 an inch. That should get me to my 225, and I'll go ahead and monitor as we go along. But I did wait for that smoke to kind of mellow out a little bit, so it wasn't a heavy yellow smoke, but more of a thinner white or even blue smoke. All right, so the ribs have been on the smoker for 3 hours now, and they look like they're coming along quite nicely. So what I'm gonna do is take these spare rib parts here. This is just the end that I cut off, which will make some good stew meat or bean meat, something along those lines. I'm gonna throw this down on a foil pan real quick, and now on top of that is gonna go my rack of pork spare ribs. I'm gonna keep the beef ribs uncovered for the whole time. You can see how they're shrinking up nicely. I just want a little bit more of a bark formation on the outside, but I'll come check the temp on those in about an hour or so. That guy's probably getting pretty close. He was just a morsel, but what we do is we wrap these guys in foil here, and then I'm gonna throw them back on for another couple hours. I'll give you the whole breakdown here at the end of the cook, but yeah, we're moving along nicely. Time to check on our beef ribs. Alrighty, and those look just about perfect right there. So finished temp is supposed to be about 203. Checked them a little bit ago, and they're probably gonna be a tad bit over. But the other thing I want to see is just what I see right here, is that they stick like there's like I'm pressing this into butter, and that's when I know all that fat is broken down properly. So that's just going in just perfectly there, and actually right there I'm at 202, so that's right on point. See this guy here, see how well that's popped in there. So these guys are just ready to come off. One more here. Yep, same type of thing. It's just pierces right in there like nothing, and it will still come up while it rests. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to unwrap my other pork ribs. I'm gonna pop them on the tray, and then I'm gonna actually back on the smoker itself, and then I'm gonna use the foil and cover these guys up here. So let's move these over to the pan. We're gonna let them rest. So they'll climb up in temp a tad bit more while I'm letting them rest. But I'll unwrap these, and then this just needs a little bit of time to firm up. So with this, as you can see down there, there's liquid now. So I let the pork ribs sit in the wrapped method for about 2 hours. And that steams these guys. Now we want to give them about 1 more hour with an opportunity to build a bark on the outside. So I need 2 hands, so I'm gonna pull that, and then we'll check on them here in a little bit. They should be done in about an hour. All right, here we are, finished product. I got the spare ribs over here. They came out great, it looks like. I'm gonna test them here in a second, and then the beef ribs. So beef ribs, you leave uncovered the entire time. They're about a 6-hour cook. I usually do a bigger plate. These are all I could get because I'd have to go to a butcher to get the other type. But then also the spare ribs I just got from the store and obviously cut up myself. But I use the technique of 3-2-1 with these today. You could use 3-3-1, but they were ready. I checked the temperature and the tenderness, and they were ready. So I'm excited to see how they are. But basically what the 3-3-1 means is the first 3 hours you leave uncovered, because the meat takes smoke for about the first 4 hours of smoking. Then you wrap them. During the wrapping process, they get that fall off the bone kind of internal steaming process, and then the last hour or two helps put a little bit more of a crust, so it's not just a soggy old rib. But the beef doesn't need that. Let's cut in and see. And you have my wife do it so that my ugly banged up hands don't have to be in the video. So this is the beef rib first. This is actually one of my favorite cuts of meat that there is. Looks quite tender from what we're watching here, and yes, looks pretty nice. If you want to cut a chunk off of there, I'll try a taste for my viewers. There we go, and then just maybe slice it down. Yeah, it's nice and juicy, tender inside. That looks fantastic. Perfect. All right, let me have a go at that. So that is a juicy, tender, smoked with a nice bark on the outside. Hey, you can't have any. Very good.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now the pork spare rib.
Good.
Let's get into that guy. What we're looking for here is to pull off the bone, but not be able to wiggle it off the bone. That's when you've done it too much. Go ahead and get right in the middle there for me, please.
Like cut it right here?
Yep.
Ooh, it's hot.
Yes. Fresh off the grill. And go ahead and give me 1 more of those. Just like an individual. Yep. Perfect. Alrighty. And so what we're looking for here is where I could shake it like this. If you over steam them, they actually just, in competition, they don't want to see the bone just pull right out. If I was to shake it like this and it pulls out, that's not such a good thing. We got a nice tender look there and a little bit of a smoke ring. I'm sure they're nicely smoked though. And as you can see, this guy's just pulling right off the bone. Very tender, very flavorful. Sorry to talk with my mouth full, but that's what you want to see right there. Have a taste. Let me know what you think. My love.
I don't want to be on it. Wow.
Look at that. Alrighty. Hopefully this was helpful. Enjoy.